What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We're looking at a pretty good day today for Bitcoin and Bitcoin proxies. Now in this video, I want to talk about some cycle top indicators. We're going to look at CleanSpark on the chart. It is finding resistance at its 50 MA. If it can break that, the 200 MA is only a small percentage away. Next comes the golden cross, likely the last one of this cycle. Now this article says there's 7 indicators that warn of a Bitcoin price cycle top. Keep in mind, these aren't all of the indicators. There were like 30 indicators that I talked about in a video a few videos back. Now what this is specifically looking at is the IBCl, which is the index of Bitcoin cycle indicators. There's a certain basket of them, and it says here that it's reached the distribution region for the first time in 8 months, approaching the end of the range. Now a few things that are comprised of this IBCl are some indicators that we watch: the Puel multiple, SOPR, or the spent output profit ratio, and net unrealized profit / loss, or NUPL. And I'll show you guys another indicator that I'm watching that is not telling us we're at the top yet, and it has been a pretty accurate one. I don't like holding you guys in suspense, so it is the Pi cycle top indicator, but we'll look at it in a second. I think that'll be a very important indicator to watch this cycle, and it has been very accurate in past cycles. Now this contributor, as they call them, GA, now says that Bitcoin may be approaching a possible cycle top, but without 100% confirmation. For IBCl to reach 100%, all the indicators in the formula must reach the historical distribution range, or the top regions. The same is true for tracking market bottoms. So essentially we're not fully there yet, but these 7 indicators are getting close. Not all the indicators are flashing that they're at the top. For example, here's the Puel multiple. Previously we have seen it higher in past cycles. It is still remaining firmly below its classic top levels of 6 or higher. But to be fair, if you look at last cycle, it did not make it there. It did the previous cycle, however. Now here's the IBCl chart. Like I said, this is the basket of them. It is not yet at its top, and with this you can actually see that it basically breaks the chart. That's the best way I could put it, but every cycle it does go over this red all the way to the top. You know, a good way you could approach this is once we get close, you start taking some profits. I do think we're going to see very similar here. And to me, we're not at full FOMO stage. We're not at full peak euphoria. I don't think we're there yet for Bitcoin. Now, all they really highlighted in this article was the Puel multiple. But when you look at this basket combined, it is not at the top yet. And it has been very accurate. At least, you know, a good sign in the past is when it reaches over this top line, breaking the chart, essentially. Same with the bottoms. Look at the bottom cycles. This is a fantastic way to look at top and bottom cycles, in my opinion. Maybe it won't be like that all the time, but I would say keep a close eye on this IBCl chart. Now, to finish this article up, we have a post on X from Timothy Peterson. Great name. He said that Bitcoin could reach 137,000 before falling back under the 6-figure mark for its next local bottom. For the past 250 days, the correlation between this bull run and not the previous one, but the one prior, so the 2015 to 2017 cycle, it has been a 90% correlation. To me, that makes a lot of sense for it to follow skip the 2020 cycle. We saw a kind of interesting turn of events. A bunch of interesting things happen. You guys know what happened in 2020. We also had towards the end of the cycle, allegedly, that FTX was selling Bitcoin against the market. A lot of weird manipulation going on there, in my opinion. And 2020 was kind of an odd cycle. But I do think we'll continue to follow the cycles 2 cycles back, or the 2015 to 2017 run. And so far, it has been neck and neck. Now here's the indicator that I am closely watching. Keep an eye on that IBCl chart, but also integrate this. There are other indicators as well, but look at this. Typically, when you see a cross, when you see the yellow line, and other indicators are different colored, but in this case, when you see this yellow line cross the green, it usually marks the top, and it's usually, you know, pretty accurate. Typically timing the market cycle high within 3 days. Now how this works is it uses the 111-day moving average, and this newly created multiple of the 350-day moving average, which is multiplied by 2, and this is the price values of the 350-day MA, not the number of days. For the past 3 market cycles, when the 111 DMA moves up and crosses this 350 DMA multiplied by 2, we see that it coincides with the price of Bitcoin peaking. This is very important to watch. In my opinion, you know, look how far they are. We got a ways to go, in my opinion, before we see these flip, before we see that cycle top. They do mention here that it's worth noting that this indicator has worked during Bitcoin's adoption phase, the first 15 years or so of Bitcoin's life. However, now with the launch of Bitcoin ETFs, this Bitcoin integration into the global financial system, nations adopting, states adopting, this might throw some things off, so keep that in mind. It may cease to be relevant at some point in this new market structure. Maybe it won't be within 3 days, but I think it will still hold some accuracy. Now we do have some news with Trump and some interesting stuff from some traditional banks. Trump's crypto plans have Wall Street CEOs ready to jump into digital assets. And as said by Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick, For us, the equation is really around whether we, as a highly regulated financial institution, can act as transactors. The banks want to be involved in this. The banks want to be able to transact. There is regulation in the way currently. And this was actually said at the WEF, the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, is where Morgan Stanley CEO said this. Now, the CEO of Morgan Stanley also says that they'll be working with financial regulators to determine whether it's possible to deepen the bank's ties to the cryptocurrency markets. His firm has been more aggressive than Wall Street peers. As many of you know, remember Morgan Stanley was recommending Bitcoin to its wealthiest clients. This was the first major bank to do so. And so far, these wealth management businesses in general have only facilitated trades if the customers request it. They don't recommend it. They have to hear from the customer actually mentioning crypto. And Pick, the CEO of Morgan Stanley, also said, the more it's viewed as a legitimate part of the financial system, the longer it trades, perception becomes reality. We also have some words from Bank of America CEO, willingness to embrace crypto. If the rules come in and make it a real thing that you can actually do business with, you'll find that the banking system will come in hard on the transactional side of it. And the CEO of Bank of America, who runs the second biggest bank by assets in the US, noted that crypto could become just another form of payment. He steered clear of discussing cryptos like Bitcoin as investments or stores of value. You know, this guy's involved with transactions. He wants those fees. And Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon says at the moment, from a regulatory perspective, we can't own Bitcoin. The bank would revisit the issue if the rules changed. Late Thursday, the SEC rescinded. Sorry guys, I'm kind of dumb. SAB 121, potentially opening the door for banks to custody crypto assets without such burdensome capital requirements. I took like 5 tries. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for myself for having to edit actually. Bye SAB 121. It's not been fun. Whether you like or dislike Trump, you have to admit that he's taking a very pro-crypto stance, and hey, I'm all for it. Now, looking at Bitcoin, we broke out of this beautiful pattern that I showed my Discord yesterday. Now, Bitcoin just needs to take out this previous top here, this roughly 107.2, and then it needs to break its all-time high, and then 110K is right there. We're right there. We last reached 109,500. Give us another 500 from our all-time high, and we're at 110,000, the psychological 110. Bitcoin is looking fantastic. It's starting to fly away from its 50 MA. We might kind of see another repeat here where we just go on another tear, get that next leg up. Remember, when things start really moving, consider trimming a little bit. We are getting later and later into the cycle. It's up to you in the end. But I do think, in the next 3-6 months, maybe even sooner, things really start going crazy. You definitely want to trim a little bit into some strength, build up your cash pile. If you're low on cash, always try to keep some cash on the side. It definitely helps out for those pullbacks to have that cash on the side instead of being kind of in a position where you're just sitting on your hands. You can't do anything about it. But obviously that is easier said than done, and that's a hassle for me sometimes too. Now I do want to pull up CleanSpark. We are approaching earnings. This is just the estimated date. We don't have an official announcement yet. We will likely get one very soon. One thing I'm watching for CleanSpark is finally a break out of this long pattern we've been stuck in. You can clearly see that we follow the bottom. I might need to adjust that a little better. We follow the bottom and get rejected at the top besides a, brief little false breakouts. CleanSpark, as it stands right now, is finding resistance at its 50 MA. We just had a nice run up to it, and now it's a matter of breaking that 50 MA and only going up another $1 to break the 200 MA. If we can stay above both of these for long enough, they will eventually flip. This could be one of our last golden crosses this cycle, if not the last. But, this would be our first golden cross since back when we had our last one in late November of 2023, guys, of 2023. Since then, Bitcoin was basically riding that golden cross until it found resistance, starting pulling back. The halving cut rewards. They had some profitable quarters, which caused this rally. And then as earnings came out, reflecting the halving, we saw they were unprofitable again, along with all the other Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin was also in a downtrend in Q3, and that caused some pain for the Bitcoin miners. A great opportunity to buy, in my opinion, guys. We're not getting CleanSpark down here again. There's a lot of Bitcoin miners that bottomed out, back in September, October, some in August. You're not getting this price again. This was a fantastic time to load up, although it was a rough time. Although people were complaining. People were saying, damn, I want to be making more money off this. I don't want this shit going down way down here. It's going in the opposite direction I want. I'm getting angry. The people that were steadfast, the people that had conviction and added, they're already up from there. In my opinion, it is a matter of time until we break out past $25. But it's not just going to happen overnight. We need some good fundamentals backing this up. We need some profitable quarters from the Bitcoin miners again. We need more beautiful looking charts. These charts have been pretty ugly, being stuck under their moving averages for a good period of time. Not getting that golden cross back, which is basically what ignited the rally, along with the profitable quarter, helped ignite this rally. Once we have the chart on our side and fundamentals on our side, the sky's the limit. Now, how are you guys feeling about today? This is a positive step in the right direction. Some nice green across the board for the most part, unless things change while I edit. and then I look like an idiot. But you know, stay the course, be patient, know that next week could be rough. We have the FOMC, we also have PCE coming up. It is going to be likely a shaky week. Don't expect nothing but green next week. But this is a positive step in the right direction. I think things are starting to turn. Bitcoin-wise, we're near our breakout and that next leg up, in my opinion. The worries about DOJ being approved to sell the Silk Road Bitcoin is nil at this point. We still have some potential selling from Mt. Gox later in the cycle. That's one thing to remember. But you know, things are looking good, especially where the Bitcoin miners are concerned. After a few quarters of moving back to unprofitability, and of course Bitcoin being in its downtrend after the halving, was kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news. In my opinion, those were great opportunities to load up on the Bitcoin miners you love, to enjoy the last of this cycle where things go really crazy, where the Bitcoin miners get back into profitability. And I do believe we're on the cusp of it. But thanks as always for watching, guys. I appreciate all of you. Hopefully you have a good weekend, and I'll see you soon.